Hey everybody, it's 8 o'clock on Tuesday evening. Good afternoon. I don't know what the hell I'm doing anymore. Oh my gosh, it's the Mass Comedian XCast. There's Big Ace. There's our special guest tonight, Zach Takes. And folks, if you're out there watching, please say hello. Let us know what's cooking. We would love to hear from you. And we're going to talk. There's a lot of different stuff that happened in wrestling this week. And I'm still a little bit, if I'm honest, I'm still a little bit ticked off about the bribe that WWE paid to the state of Florida so they could continue to do wrestling down there. But we'll talk about that later, Ace. Why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction to everybody so they know who Zach is?
Yeah, so Zach is a good friend of mine from the Waterloo, Iowa Hall of Fame weekend event that I go to every year. We met at the first one that I went to. I can't remember, though. Did I meet you guys online prior to because of the podcasting?
I think so. I want to say, yeah, because you guys were doing PBI guys, and
Right.
somehow we all got connected online through, I think we were both promoting the weekend, and we somehow got interconnected that way.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like I've somehow, when we were doing that show, I somehow like met area other podcasts because we had our friends, the podcast of Immortals out of Duluth too, that we just randomly met online and started talking to, and then we started going to shows together. So it's really funny to see how that all has happened. But yeah, so we met there, and so we hang out every year at the Hall of Fame together. You are one of the hosts of Shotgun Wrestling, which we talked about this weeks back. Obviously took a big hit at Shotgun Wrestling with the loss of your co-host Zach Zigman.
Yeah, it's been a rough. Oh, now it's been now 3, 4, almost a month. So just the worst part of the whole quarantine thing, you can't really do anything to celebrating, which kind of sucks even worse. And it's one of those things where I'm sitting there and like I remember the week after the week of that it happened. There's a lot of times we've texted since we host wrestling, we would text each other during wrestling. And there's so many times, especially on Wednesday, because Zach was really a WWE fan. Like he was all in from like just big WWE fan. There's so many times during that first Wednesday show after he passed away where I was like, damn, I want to text him this. And then you're like, shit, I can't. It's just those little things that even the last few weeks, I'm like, oh, I want to text him. Can't do that. And it's like just one of those things you don't realize, just little things, that how much you text somebody until you're not able to. It's like this one. I've had relatives pass away and that type of thing, sure, but none that you necessarily talk to basically once a week, at least once a week, multiple times a week. So to have that kind of just disappear, like that one just really shook me. And I know he would have probably been cool with me continuing to do Shotgun if I wanted to, but I'm like, that was something him and I built from the ground up. We started in 2010. This year would have been, I didn't even think about it until last week. So I'm like, shit, this year was our 10th year.
Wow.
This year would have been our 10th year doing Shotgun Wrestling Radio. And I'm like, how many podcasts have been around for 10 years?
Right. Exactly.
And at least that had the same co-host. So it's like, I just kind of felt like with that, I'm like, out of respect for him, I'm going to retire the Shotgun name, but I'm still going to continue to do stuff for the local Iowa scene because that's what the local Iowa scene needs whenever we can get up and running again. And that's the other worst part, man. We can't go to wrestling.
Yeah, right.
That's the worst part about all this. We have Iowa is blessed enough that we have like four or five companies that run on a consistent basis where you can basically catch a show every weekend, but we can't even do that right now.
I know. We were just talking before we went on here and before you joined on that they announced today to people who have gone on the Chris Jericho cruise, like the people who've gone on the last two. We all got our emails today saying that we can actually start to book next week for the next cruise that's supposedly happening in February. And it's just weird because it's like, man, they're talking another year and a half before they do arena shows for anything, sports or concerts. So
yeah.
But they're cool with 2,000 people on a boat, apparently. It was just weird.
Yeah.
It's weird now. It's like you can't
my wife and I were supposed to go to Yeah, well, my wife and I were supposed to go to Memphis this coming weekend to see one of our favorite bands, Shinedown, because they were doing a deep dives tour where they were going to play a bunch of deep cuts that they've never played before. And yeah, we had to. I mean, the show got pushed back to August, and now I'm kind of even mentally preparing myself. I'm like, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Hey, Mike Morgan, Malice.
Yeah, what's up,
from
man?
Impact Pro Wrestling joining us.
Yeah. I think we've talked about Malice's match at the Hall of Fame show on this show from this last year. I think I was sitting with you guys during that brutal chair shot
where he took that ridiculous headshot. Oh, I still hear that in my sleep.
We were ringside for it, Mask, and it was like after that, I think we all had to chat with Malice about it. Like, what the hell, dude? That was crazy. Are you okay?
Have you shown Mask Comedian the video? Have you shown Mask Comedian the video of it?
I don't know if I have.
Okay, I was gonna say if you need the video, I have the video of it.
Yeah, you have to send that to us so Mask can see it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, it was epic.
Absolutely, it's a brutal chair shot.
It was epic. Hey, what's up, cuz? Yeah, that was because you don't expect a shot like that at any show nowadays, but I don't know, it was just such a man. Yeah, that was brutal, but that was a fun time. But again, that is a fun weekend. That is where I've met Zach and a bunch of other great people, and it's our little WrestleMania weekend close to home that weekend every year, and we all hang out, we all stay at the same place. That's the other thing, we don't know if that's happening this year,
right?
Which is a bummer.
Yeah, part of me's trying to stay optimistic, but the other side of me is kind of like, well, be prepared for it not to happen. Like, it's my favorite weekend of the entire year because everybody just gets together and we just live it up.
Yeah, I it's just like a month and a half ago, I was like, yeah, we'll be fine. Now it's like, man, I just don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen. Sucks. It was a stacked lineup. Was pumped for Trish Stratus being there this year, getting inducted. Colt Cabana was going to be there, which would be cool to see him now that he's has a really good year going with AEW. Like, just it was going to be a lot of cool things happening this year, and now it's bittersweet because we were going to all have to deal with the fact that someone was missing that's always there and is a staple of that weekend with all of us, Zach. And now it's like we don't even know if it's going to happen.
Right.
So, yeah, man. But that's where I know this cat from. And if you guys, I'm assuming you have the catalog up, so check them out. Shotgun Wrestling, great podcast, great stuff. One of my favorites was the Brian Blair interview last year before the Hall of Fame.
Oh my gosh, that was a hoot and a half.
Brian B. Blair got a little crazy on their podcast, and it started going down a weird road for a minute. But it's
perfect.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh my god!
But that's Mr. Blair. You ever spend any time with him?
Well, the funny thing is, he originally thought it was going to be a video podcast. Like, he was telling us beforehand, he had it all set up, and then I guess lightning hit his house and he lost his internet, or he lost something. So when he started going down that path, I remember we got off the phone with him, and I was talking to Zach, and I was like, damn, I'm so glad that was not a video, because my reaction, because I was trying to, he went on a whole political rant, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not taking my show down that road. So I tried to quickly roll it back in, and I was like, thank God that this was not on video.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, it was a fun one. Listen back to it though, but yeah, check that out. We're glad to have you with us. So we'll run through some of the shows, and then obviously lots of out of ring news to talk about. I did not watch Smackdown, full disclosure, guys. So here we go. I'll give you guys the results though. Tamina versus Sasha Banks with Bayley. Tamina wins and will challenge Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Did you guys see Smackdown this week?
I will be honest with you, I fell asleep.
Fridays are hard, man.
I had it scheduled, right? Yep. I'm like, I'm doing, because the thing is, it's like I want to watch it, and I try to go back and catch up with it then afterwards, and I still fall asleep. And part of it is I'm just I can't, I mean I know they're trying and I can't get behind the no audience. It's just weird to me still. I'm not used to it.
See, I think it's the way that it's done. Because feel like if you watch NXT is doing a great job, I think, with the no audience. AEW is doing a great job with the no audience. Granted, they're having their actual wrestlers in the crowd, which is actually making their show a little bit more above everybody else. But I've had such a hard time watching SmackDown for more than 15 minutes since all this started. I've done a little bit better with Monday Night Raw because I feel like the storytelling over there has been at least a little bit better. But yeah, with
Agreed.
SmackDown, I've been kind of just okay. I'll tune in and I'll see. I work for a local Fox station here in Cedar Rapids, and one of my master control guys, if he's telling me something interesting, I might tune in. But I usually tune in at like the beginning of the hour, see kind of what they have set up, and then I'll probably tune out somewhere later, and I'll go to PlayStation or something.
Yeah, that's what happened with me. I've recently become a gamer in the last week. I got a PlayStation 4 and I got some role play or like some shooter games, which I've never liked. I'm also horrible at them. And I don't know why, but I bought one and now I'm just like addicted to it. I'm just like, I gotta beat this game.
I've gotten hooked on Animal Crossings on my Switch.
I've seen a
That's
lot.
been my
Yeah,
I bought that over the weekend. I've gotten hooked on it since I was actually playing it before I hopped on here with you guys.
So what is that game? I mean I've heard a lot about it, but I've not seen it.
It's for the Nintendo Switch, and you're basically building your own island, more or less. So it's kind of like this. And the way I would compare it, I guess, would be The Sims.
Oh, okay.
Would be the way I would compare to.
Gotcha.
And you're just kind of more or less building your own island.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. So it's good time killer.
There you go. All right, so yeah, that match happens, and now we get Tamina versus Bayley, which this is all just filler for what's going to be the Bayley Sasha Banks match, I'm assuming, at SummerSlam. Also, it should be noted that it was SmackDown, I think, is when they announced how Money in the Bank was going to happen, which is a brand new format this year.
The corporate ladder, baby.
Yeah, I don't. Thoughts, I guess. I'm not sure on how I feel about it.
I mean, if they're going to make the whole thing a pre-produced event, if it's like The Undertaker and AJ, I'm not going to like it. If it's like, and the reason I'm not going to like it is because it, for me, doesn't have the same gravity as that match. This is basically it's a ladder match, right? And so now it's going to go from floor to floor to floor until they finally get to the roof. And if they do a whole lot of pre-production with it, I have a feeling I'm not going to like it. But that's my preconceived notion.
My only hope with this match is they go into Bruce's office and they wrestle in there, and there's a legit box of gimmicks in his office. It says box of gimmicks. If there is not a box of gimmicks in Bruce's office in this match, they have missed the boat.
I think there's going to be a lot of little Easter eggs they could do in that building. It is worth noting, though, that this building is only has like 6 months to a year left, and they will not be in it anymore because they are building a new headquarters in Stanford. So I also wonder if this is a way for them to be like, hey, we could do some damage here because we're leaving in a year.
Yeah.
The other interesting note to this, though, is so for Mania, obviously everybody knew that was pre-recorded. So we got those segments, like the Boneyard match, the Firefly Funhouse. They're really hitting the head on this is a live show. This pay-per-view is going to be live. So I wonder if they're going to maybe stray away and it's just going to be them wrestling, multiple floors. Because with that many people, too, you're going to probably have 2 or 3 cameras going in the building at different floors, is my guess.
But you also have to realize that if they're going to stick with the, social distancing guidelines, they can't have a whole hell of a lot of cameras. They've already got 6 people that are going to be wrestling.
Yeah, so I mean, like 2 guys.
You'll probably have some GoPros set up, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Set up. You can easily put cameras on tripods for when they're up there.
Yeah, that's
And when they when they're going up the steps, the ladder or the elevator, somebody can just run up and run that camera.
Yeah, and it's not like they're not used to playing for a camera that's static sitting there anyway, so that makes
Right.
perfect sense.
Yeah.
Right.
It
does kind of remind me. It does kind of remind me with the multiple levels, the triple cage that WCW did during Ready to Rumble.
And that's the other thing. When they do like at Mania, the Orton and Edge match, like they can do that at the headquarters. It doesn't have to be some cinematic shot and because that's the thing with those, it takes away the fact that I'm watching professional wrestling. Now it is just a pre-produced fight scene, where that's half the fun of watching professional wrestling is that the outcomes are going to be pre-decided and all that jazz. Like we're all clued in, we're in the know, but we still love what they're doing and how they're doing it and get lost in that shuffle. And those cinematic ones take all that away because it's just no, this is just a movie now. Like this is all completely not real. But anyways, so yeah, if they do a live action shot throughout the building all the way to the top to the bring in stuff, yeah, it could be cool. It could be fun.
Yeah.
It's something. It's a gimmick. It's something to do with no crowd. So I get it. Wonder, will the other matches then still take place on the roof then?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I bet those take place at the PC still.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah. All right. So then I went to Sheamus and Denzel DeJournay. Sheamus wins.
Sheamus is doing great at squash matches.
Yeah. Whatever.
And it surprises me that in this environment they're still bringing in no-namers to do these squash matches.
It is absolutely insane because you would think that, of course, given the hindsight, but you would think that if they're getting rid of all these name talents who could actually use the money or the work, that they're bringing in Tommy and Sue Knuckles from local Orlando wrestlers, and it's amazing to me that they're bringing them in. But I mean, because it's like they're not doing anything other than losing,
right?
And it's not like it's a huge enhancement. It's not like they're getting anything really out of it other than the fact that maybe if they progress themselves and make the roster someday, somebody's going to say, "Hey, you remember what?" Because they won't going to have the same name. So
it's funny, it's like what, no way Jose wasn't jobbing hard enough for you. Like you had to get and still bring ththese guys who are nobody in. Like what the hell? Like the Miz and Kurt Hawkins losing streak for 5 years wasn't enough. Like it's again that whole, and we'll get into that after the shows. We'll get into the firings and all the conspiracy and just what the hell's really going on in WWE. But yeah, it's weird. Then we had the women Money in the Bank qualifier match, Naomi, Dana Brooke. Dana wins and advances. That's a surprise. I would not picture them putting Brooke over Naomi. Naomi's their girl, but I like it. I like that Dana Brooke's getting some attention.
It's having not watched it, I'm very shocked. But I mean, Dana Brooke seems like somebody that they've wanted to push and just haven't found a way to do it yet. And maybe at this And maybe at this time it's a good time for them to kind of dip their toe in the water, because they kind of, I mean, this whole situation is going to make anything they do that seems silly people are going to forgive it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a good point. With Dana, they like you said, tried to push her, but backed on. That surprised me too. I did actually catch this match. It was a decent little match too for what it was, and yeah, like you said there, Ace, I was surprised to see her come away with the win. Happy because I feel like Naomi, she's been there a long time. She's had I felt like her time in the spotlight. Let's kind of push some new blood. So I was perfectly fine with Dana getting the push here.
Yeah, I'm all for it. She's someone that's always claimed like I wasn't great when I got here, but I want to get better, and has gotten. Plus I kind of missed the boat, man. I think WWE was really hoping her and Batista was going to become a thing, so then they can just ride that and get more out of Batista. But whatever. He just hits it and quits it.
She did, though. funny thing is, though, she did use the Batista bomb in the match.
She did. It was awesome. It's just funny to know that those two probably hooked up. I guess no one knows for sure who hooked them two, but I'm gonna just say they did. Men's Money in the Bank qualifier: Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro. Daniel Bryan wins and advances. Cesaro is just another guy that, man, he just, I don't know. I don't know how they're not doing anything with him that is actually like good.
Well, we talked about this, I think, last week or maybe the week before. Cesaro's one of those guys that it doesn't make any difference what they tell him to do. He's just going to do it. And he's going to excel at whatever they tell him to do, which is, it's a shame that they don't give him a bigger role. But I mean, who knows? Maybe he's content to do what he's doing. I don't know, but I mean, whatever they ask him to do, he does, and he excels at it. So I think you can't ask for a whole lot more than that.
Yeah, this was another match from SmackDown that, since it was still earlier on in the show, I happened to catch, and I know that they were promoting that one. The thing I liked about the PC match with the crowd, these guys have had to go a lot harder. Like, if you're watching them, they're laying it in there pretty damn good. And who better to, if you're going to, any two guys lay it, who better than Daniel Bryan and Cesaro? But I was kind of surprised that given, Daniel Bryan's concussion pass, they're going to throw him into a Money in the Bank ladder match.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. That guy's pretty incredible, though. He really does take very good care of himself. And I don't know. It's so weird, though, because, like, Edge, like, there was so many spots in that match in Mania with Orton where it's just like, come on, man. He told he's going to be in a wheelchair and you guys are doing this? Like, what the hell?
Right?
So, I don't know. But the last match that happened on SmackDown, Tag Team Championship Triple Threat, The Miz versus Big E versus Jey Uso. Big E wins, and the New Day are champions once again.
Only thing I'll say is I understand the need. I understood the need for the 3-person match, and I think, again, given the situation, I understand why you can't have a full roster. You can't have full teams wrestling for that because by law they can't have that many people in a building. So I mean, I totally get it. When you're talking about the commentators and you're talking about the teams, there's 8 right there. Plus you got the cameramen and everybody else in there. So I mean, I get it. And again, I can forgive that.
It kind of felt like to me switching to New Day so soon, because Miz and Morrison haven't had the titles for that long. I mean, this was, if I remember, it wasn't SmackDown like the first show post firings, even if the show was probably pre-taped.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of felt like to me, they almost felt like, let's have a feel-good moment to kind of send the crowd at home happy by giving the New Day the win and showing a title change. And then, I mean, I did kind of like, too, at the end, how they had a video input there from Xavier Woods at his home, being all pumped up and excited for the tag team title win. I thought that was a nice touch, but it just seemed a little too early to me to take the titles off Miz and Morrison unless they have a feud planned between those two.
Well, my thing is, why didn't you just do it at Mania? It would have been
right.
A big deal then. Like, you just did it 2 weeks after on a SmackDown. Like, what the hell? The other thing too, though, is I guess at the Rumble, New Day's ring gear was like paint by numbers gear.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen that? So like at Mania, Kofi wore the same thing, but now half of it was like painted.
Oh.
So what the theory is that this Color Me gear, as they get closer to Xavier Woods coming back, it's getting filled in now.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
So I wonder if this is all just getting ready to have Xavier come back now, because I think we're getting close to that. So, like, make a big deal, give them the titles, whatever. It's going to be a big deal. I also feel like eventually here, this is going to be the last New Day run where we're going to finally see a split. Because the other thing, too, is they're not doing Big E any favors right now.
No.
The guy should have a single singles career going. He should be in a title picture, and it's just he's wasting years right now. So, yeah. Anyways, other thing from SmackDown worth noting was the Dolph Ziggler, Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose, Otis thing. Yeah, it was all right, I guess. I don't.
To me, it's like it's the only real thing they got going on, like as far as that you would expect as a story. I felt like it's nice to see Sonya Deville being able to do something, not when she's attached to Mandy Rose's hip, because she's actually pretty good. But who knows how that all is going to go down? It's just it's I don't know. I mean, it's still kind of a bit weird for me.
Yeah, I don't. I would almost book it where this is all jealousy because like Sonya Deville is into Mandy.
Yeah,
I feel like it would be more worth it then. I get the whole like I was always in your shadow, but I also don't feel that like. I don't know. I don't feel like obviously, man. Like, I don't even feel like people are like she's so hot and you're not. Like, I mean, everybody's kind of into both of them, right?
yeah.
They're both pretty over. I don't know. I'm on board though, as long as they keep Otis going with her. Like, I'm on board. I'm entertained by that.
Yep.
Every day.
I'm thinking Otis. I think it's really showing how great of a character Otis can be, and I think obviously it's gonna probably be tag match at Money in the Bank between both teams, which is fine. I think it's about time that WWE started doing more mixed tag matches. But yeah, I'm perfectly fine with this. And I did hear, I don't know if you guys heard, apparently when everyone was getting released, I guess Ziggler went out and was buying a bunch of shirts from people on their PWT store.
Mm-hmm.
The word getting around the interwebs was that he was going around buying a bunch of wrestler shirts from their PWT stores last week. So hey, kudos to Dolph on that one.
Absolutely, that's very cool.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna jump into Monday Night Raw. There's way more matches on here, so we're gonna cruise through some of this stuff. So men's Money in the Bank qualifier: Aleister Black versus Austin Theory. Aleister Black gets the win and advances. Austin Theory, Angel Garza, Andrade, and Zelina. A lot of FaceTime this week on Raw.
And Zelina's killing it.
Yeah.
Zelina's just killing it.
And that was fun to watch too, especially knowing that those two were married in real life. Which I think they just put out.
My brother-in-law, who you've met, Ace at the Hall of Fame weekend, sent me a text during Raw Monday. He's like, it has to be so awkward for Aleister and Selena to work together on Raw. It's like, he's like, gosh, she's yelling at me at home and now she's yelling at me at work too.
Like I was saying, they just put a Q&A out, those two together on a YouTube. I guess they have their own YouTube channel. I haven't seen it, but that's an interesting dynamic too. Let's see. Next, we had Shayna Baszler versus Indy Hartwell. Get it, Indy Hartwell.
Good old. I've been on that bandwagon for a long time for her.
Obviously, Shayna Baszler gets the win. Just a nice match to make her look tough. Again, it makes no sense they're bringing in these girls to do these jobs. And
the other thing is too, I understand they want to make Shayna look like evil and vicious, and she put her hand in the ladder and kicked it again after she'd already done the old arm kick. But it's like, I'm kind of like, okay, honestly, she only had to do it the once,
right.
You know, because as this seems to be carrying out with everything else, the timeline for these stories that they're doing are going to be very short. You know, they're not going to be doing any long term. Oh yeah, we 6 months down the road. They're not thinking that way. They're thinking to the next pay-per-view, and I don't know. I mean, other than the fact that they want to fill some time, and other than the fact that they want to have Shayna look evil and mean and vicious, I kind of don't see it. To me, it's a bit of overkill. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love that she's that way, but I think it's just overkill.
I've been a big fan of her since her time in NXT. I felt like she was down in NXT way too long. I like what they're doing with her now. I just wish that in order to make some of these people feel dominant, they wouldn't always just have them go up against the jobbers, like Sheamus. Does he really need to go up against in his career? Shayna, no, she doesn't really need to go. I mean, give her some time in the ring with Sonya or Mandy or vice. You know what I mean? They're not on. I don't even know if they're on Raw. I honestly don't know how well they're following the brand since it's been split for like the 5th time. But I think you can have Shayna beat the current women on the roster without having them bring in these unnamed talents that nobody's heard of just to make her look strong.
Yeah, and they just really hurt Shayna Baszler by making her debut match on the main roster be Mania against Becky Lynch, and then her just getting beat. So I don't know. It's hard. I don't know. Well, I'm still. I want to see how she does in this ladder match. Next was Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, which I didn't realize was a new tag team, against Shane Thorne and Brendan. Ricochet and Alexander with the win. Then we had Nia Jax and Kairi Sane. Nia Jax wins. I believe this was a qualifying match. Maybe no, I don't know.
I don't think it was.
Okay.
As I recall, but
Nia hurt somebody again though.
Yeah, she really just about killed Kairi throwing her that buckle bomb.
Which is interesting because she was the one just recently being talked about for calling out Rousey for being too rough in the ring.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
This isn't anything.
And Nia's hurt more people than what Ronda did. So right. It's like, and now to see her just completely botched. I've said ever since Sting took the buckle bomb from Seth that they should have banned that move. Like, you know what? That fucked up him and basically our chance of ever seeing Sting in the WWE ring again.
Yeah.
I was like, they should have honestly just told talent, yeah, no more buckle bombs. Like, I don't care how good your talent is. Obviously, that can fuck up a person pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, poor Nia Jax, man. I mean, it's just like, just do your job. Don't talk. Like, do your job. You just got back. Like, you're running your mouth, and now you're doing this. Then we had a men's Money in the Bank qualifier, Apollo Crews versus MVP. Crews wins and advances to the Money in the Bank match.
MVP did a really good job of getting him over, too. And I think they're trying to build Crews back up. And he's another guy that, kind of like Dana Brooke, they seem to want to do something with him, but they just didn't know what to do with him.
I honestly feel like this past week's Raw was probably one of the best Raws they've had since they've been doing PC. I felt like everything was clicking on all cylinders for them. And yeah, you're right. I love that they're finally. It finally feels like they're really starting to push back Crews. I'm to the point though. I'm like, they just released all these cats. I don't need to see MVP be wrestling in 2020. Yeah. That's just like once in a while is okay, but I've already felt like he's worn out his welcome and we've seen him way too much.
Especially he's already retired.
I'm at the point with exactly, and I'm like, I'm at the point with the MVP character. I'm like, yeah, if I didn't see you wrestle anymore, I'd be fine with it. Like, yeah.
All right, yeah, that was a trip to see him, because like literally, I was on the cruise, and we flew home Saturday, and the Rumble was Sunday, so like. At the last night on the cruise, I was like standing next to MVP watching one of the bands, and it was just funny because it's like the whole time now I'm like, he knew there, like he knew where he was going on Sunday. Like that son of a bitch. I don't know why I was mad at him for it, but I was. Next we had Ruby Riott versus Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan gets the win, which right move. If they would have had Ruby Riott go over on this, then that definitely meant there was no hope for Liv Morgan going forward.
And I'd have been pissed.
And yeah, I like what she has going. I just want to see her get put into something more serious to see how she can do it.
But as far as performing goes, I am 100% behind that girl. Man, she throws everything into it. And if just to go back 2 matches, if Nia Jax did that, just think what she'd be. But of course, Nia Jax doesn't. She's a lumbering large girl, and God love her, but Liv Morgan is just fantastic from her facial expressions when she's selling. I mean, everything about her is fantastic to me.
And I thought this was the best that Ruby had looked in quite a while too. I thought these two just worked really, really good together. I really enjoyed this match.
Yeah, it was a really good one. Next, we had men's Money in the Bank qualifier. Rey Mysterio versus Buddy Murphy. Mysterio with the win. He'll be in Money in the Bank match, which is cool. I'm down to see Mysterio do some stuff, but seems kind of weird that he didn't put him over and Murphy get a spot in a bigger match, being that, let's be honest, Mysterio's on the downward spring. He's almost done, actually. Could have been 10 years ago. Again, he's only 50% human. And then, Murphy is a promising guy right now. He could have done more with that, but whatever. We'll see some cool spots with Rey, I think, in that match.
Yep.
Like, he'll do some cool shit during their whole climb to the top of the building.
Yeah, I was disappointed that Murphy didn't go over here. I thought it would have been a nice chance for him to get in the Money in the Bank, and I was a little disappointed that they didn't go, just kind of continue on what seems like a younger path for Money in the Bank. But then again, you also have Daniel Bryan in there now, some other guys who've been there for a while too. So, but yeah, hopefully it's not the end of them pushing Buddy Murphy, because I think that guy's hella talented and needs to be being used a little bit more.
Yeah, man. The next match had no place on Raw, and if this is how they're going to do this now, I will not be happy about it. And that is Charlotte Flair versus Kaden Carter. You gave her the NXT title. She shouldn't be on Raw defending the NXT. She shouldn't be on Raw wrestling. Mm-hmm. She should be on NXT doing this. The whole reason. Oh, nice.
Oh, hey, hold on. I gotta. Talk amongst yourselves.
We're live, folks.
Yoshi calling you?
No, I agree with you though, man. I've gotten to the point with Charlotte now. I've gotten to the point with Charlotte now where I'm kind of like, if you want her to be the NXT champion, fine, but don't shove her down my throat on both Raw, and I don't know if they're gonna do it on SmackDown now too, but don't have her be on both shows, or even all for that matter. I'm like, there's such thing as an overkill. You guys have a brand extension for a reason. Actually live it up. If you want Charlotte to defend it on NXT, you easily could have just done this match on NXT, because Cadence Carter has nothing to do with Raw or SmackDown. So it's like this. Yeah, like you guys said, this match made absolutely zero sense for me.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't need to see. I mean, if that's what they're going to do, I don't need to see her. Either that or throw that belt back into the ring at NXT. I mean, and I don't know. I don't know what the ratings were. I know ratings are going down and down for all television, not just wrestling, but all television. So at this point, to have Charlotte bouncing back between these is just an absolute waste.
1.842 million for Raw. What's the number this week? Yeah, again, if your sole purpose of giving her the NXT title was to put her on there to raise your ratings against AEW, you're going to burn her out, and you're going to now burn the fans out on her. So if you keep having her do all the shows. So anyways, Andrade against Tozawa, which I really wish they'd do more with Tozawa. I like that guy. Really do.
Very talented. He makes anybody who wrestles look great.
Yeah.
Isn't Tozawa in the Cruiserweight tournament right now on NXT?
Believe so.
As well?
I believe he is.
So, yeah.
But I'd like to see...
Yeah, that's another one. I don't want to see, like we just talked about earlier, don't burn these guys out on the fans and have them on multiple shows. Like, if you want to say you're having separate shows, actually have separate shows.
Yeah. Yeah. Bianca Belair, Santana Garrett. Belair with the win. Belair looking good. They're making her look tough. I think she will then... I see, that's just it, though. She's being pushed as a face because of the Street Profits. You got Becky as the champ, so, I mean, she's not getting no title push right off the bat. So, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with her. Maybe she'll get Asuka when Kyrie leaves. And then, main event, Drew McIntyre versus Angel Garza, of course, with Zelina Vega, Andrade, and Tyson. What is his name again?
Fury.
Yeah, Tyson. What?
Theory.
No, that was the other guy.
Austin Theory.
Austin Theory. Tyson Chicken. That's
it. Again, I'm just so not familiar with Austin Theory because he just kind of all of a sudden came out. But yeah, I don't know. It was.
He was originally the Evolve champion, and then got signed to NXT. And then kind of like right as he was coming into NXT is when all the quarantine stuff happened. So I feel like they kind of catapulted him to Raw sooner than what they would have, type of deal.
Yeah.
But he just seems like, my brother-in-law and I were talking about this during the show the other night. It's like he feels just the odd man out in that stable. Like I actually really think it's about time we have a female-led stable group because Selena's an excellent mouthpiece.
Yeah.
I mean, just fantastic. He just seems like to me such an oddball out of that whole group. I mean, he's hella talented. He just seems like the oddball out of that whole group.
Right. We didn't get any word on what's going on with Becky Lynch going into Money in the Bank yet. As far as if she's gonna have a match, I don't think. Right.
Maybe she's using her truck to drive supplies to people.
I hope so. And then we do have Rollins and McIntyre for Money in the Bank. Also, real quick, we missed that on SmackDown, but there was the moment with Bliss and Nikki Cross and Braun Strowman.
Oh, yeah.
With the present and him. I love anytime Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss acknowledge Team Little Big. It always makes me happy. And that was a funny segment when he's like, "Oh, what? Team Little Big? I know you got me." And then it wasn't. It was, and as it should be, it was his mask from the Wyatt family, which really piqued my interest and more now on him and the Fiend stuff. So I look forward to that as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
one thing you didn't mention about Raw was the tire flipping that Bobby Lashley did, which had absolutely dick to do with anything.
Well, from what I didn't get too far into article reading on this one, but I seen something about they pulled the plug on original ideas for Bobby and Lana.
Well,
that could explain why they had that weird tire flipping.
Yeah.
And just her coming out like in a full dress hanging out at the gym.
Yeah. It's just, it gets more and more ridiculous.
What do you mean, Ace? You don't hang out at the gym in a full dress?
No, I don't wear my formal clothes to go flip tires.
I remember that one time you wore a tux to do some curls.
Yeah, well, sometime. It was weird. So let's go into AEW quick and talk about Dynamite, and then we can kind of get into these last week of wrestling outside of the ring. Dynamite, we'll go through these matches. We had the AEW TNT Championship Tournament quarterfinals, which really feels like they just threw this tournament together. Like we're, but okay.
Well, let's be honest, they did.
They did, but it was just like I don't know. I didn't even realize that we had only had some of the bracket at some points. I don't know. They should have just did it like the King in the Ring. Just put the whole bracket out so we all know what's going on here. They could have really hit on, not really March Madness because we're in April now, but people have missed out on brackets this year. They've been down for that. Lance Archer versus Colt Cabana. I thought was a good match. I like that they're making Colt look more serious than just this comedy relief wrestling.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that I enjoyed that, and I again enjoy that they are still using the talent to come out ringside during matches.
Yep.
Again, it gives you the feel of a real show. There's no real smoke or mirrors going on. They're really just putting on quality wrestling matches, and it's entertaining because I feel like that's the other thing too. There's so much in Raw and SmackDown right now that's promos, replays, backstage interviews, because they're not probably wanting to do as much match work right now with no audience, and I get that, but that's where AEW is not doing that. They're like, screw this, we're wrestling, we're gonna still just wrestle. So I'm liking that. But yeah, that was a good match. I mean, I think we all know where this tournament's headed to, and that's a Lance Archer Cody Rhodes match.
Yep.
Britt Baker versus Cassandra Golden. Baker with the win.
They're making her
Baker
great.
is a dentist, Ace.
Go ahead, Zach.
She's a dentist.
No.
She is a dentist.
DD. It's you know what's funny is like 3 months ago, everybody was like, "Man, God bless her for trying," but I just don't think it's going to happen for Britt Baker. And now it's like, you know what? I like it. I'm into the heel now.
I was gonna say that was the best thing they did for her was to actually make her a heel because we all for months we were all making fun of, oh hey, she's a dentist, and now she's like, now that she's an actual heel, I'm like, okay, good, you can actually use that you're a dentist line and shove it down our throats and make us hate you even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that she did a promo in her dentist office. That was good. Yeah, and then we had Sammy Guevara versus Shug D, whoever that is. Sammy Guevara with the win. I'm a fan of Guevara. I like that guy. Quality in the match. Plays a really good heel. Super nice kid though. Like that's the other thing you forget is he's a kid.
Yeah.
He's a youngin. But yeah, man. Yeah, it was good. I like the ongoing stuff with Guevara and Brandy Rhodes too on screen. That is carried onto Twitter too now. It's hilarious. Then we had Chuck Taylor with Orange Cassidy versus Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford. Kip Sabian gets the win. Jimmy Havoc running interference in that match. So Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian are a thing now, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, I like Jimmy Havoc. I'm still not, you know, like I like Penelope. I like the whole super bad thing. I just kind of wish it wasn't Kip Sabian that was the guy.
I wish they would have ran with her and Janela together for a little while.
Yeah.
But also too, I think those two were actually dating in real life too. And
yeah.
That's probably why they stopped for it.
That's Penelope again.
Penelope. And then Sean Spears versus Justin Law. Sean Spears with the win. And then we had the big AEW World Championship match, no holds barred, emptied arena match. Jon Moxley versus Jake Hager. Mox with the win. I like that they did the cuts in between commercials and going into commercials of like people giving their opinion on who's going to win that match.
Yeah.
I like that they made it have a real fight feel, and that they got like legit Bellator and MMA people to do it.
See, I think for me that there are just some really fine little things that AEW is doing that WWE is not doing, that makes that product just a little bit more palatable when there's not an audience, you know. And I'm not saying I prefer to watch it partially because I prefer the talent that's on there to a degree, right? Because I know that a lot of the stuff they're doing doing by the seat of their pants. But I think production-wise, it has a totally different feel. It still has that kind of indie feel. And when you talked about those guys saying, "Yeah, well, we're going to go out and do it," that's the kind of attitude that I feel like with the entire AEW production versus the WWE productions, you're just kind of like, it's kind of like almost we have to do this. Versus AEW is kind of like we want to do this. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, most definitely. Yep. Plus, it came out that an anonymous employee of WWE has reported that they are forcing people to show up and wrestle. They quickly disputed that claim today, but somebody named John apparently.
Yeah, I did see that earlier today, but I did like how you said the promo bill for this had different guys like Ariel Helwani, and they even had Mike Goldberg from Bellator all giving their thoughts on Jake. They obviously had Jake's wife in there too, and I thought this was a damn good match, and I thought this was some of Jim Ross's best work that he's done since coming to AEW. I thought he was just clicking on all cylinders during this matchup, and yeah, I mean AEW, I think for me it's another thumbs up. Their product just continues to be thoroughly enjoyable, and especially even adding Jericho to commentary now has been fantastic too.
Yeah, Absolutely. Jericho has been a wonderful addition to commentary. to the point that I agree that JR did a really good job calling that match, but I still feel like I wish they would have let like Jericho call it with him. I feel like it needed a second person talking with him. Just if nothing
Right.
else, to make those breaks in the commercial a little easier for him. And then, I mean, it's Hagar, it's Chris's boy. It would have been fun to hear them two do that. But yeah, and it was a cool match.
I kind of wondered, do you think maybe that match and his commentary were probably taped separately? You know what I mean? Like, they taped the match, sent it to JR, and said, hey, record commentary to this in your home studio and then send it back to us.
Oh, I would assume so.
Yeah, I'm because
then we'll give you a timestamp cue of where we think the breaks are going to go. So, like, if you hit your start clock when the match starts at such and such a time, you need to hit a break.
Yeah. I mean, it was either that or they somehow just patched him in and he called it live while they were doing it. Like, the match was pre-recorded, but he was calling it live just
right.
for break purposes. But yeah, otherwise it was probably pre-recorded. And
I would agree, though, that it was pre-recorded, because if you've been watching BTE, the matches that those guys have been doing there, Excalibur's been doing commentary, and I guarantee you that Excalibur is not there with them.
Right. But yeah, overall, though, a good show, good Dynamite. Before we get off of that and go into anything else, you mentioned BTE. 200th episode came out yesterday. It was the big Nick versus Matt Jackson match at their compound. I haven't watched it yet. I've watched the ones before this. Interesting, and I don't know. I don't know what to read in on this. I don't know what other fans are reading in on this, but those last couple BTEs, it's interesting to note that, yeah, maybe it was because it's the 200th episode coming up, but you had Flip Gordon in one. You had Marty make an appearance. You had, is it Taya, Morrison's wife, the Impact? She was women's Impact champ at a time. The blonde. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I right? What's her name? Taya?
I can't think of her name.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on her.
Either way, Morrison's wife, blonde, was Impact champ. She was in one of those. Like, a lot of people from different promotions basically are being shown in these videos. So it makes you wonder, were they doing it just for that, which could be, or is this a sign of we may see some of these promotions finally working together going forward?
I can tell you, having watched it yesterday, that I found as they did the promos and they did the intros, and I won't go any further than that because I don't want to ruin it for you. They left Marty in, but for some reason they chopped Flip off.
Like on the 8-bit
on the intros, you know, like on the 8-bits. So Marty was still in there, and they showed Marty in the promos, but anything that Flip was involved in, they chopped off, which I thought, very similar to what you were thinking. You know, it's like, why would they do that? But regardless, it's every bit as good and entertaining as anything else that's going on in wrestling for me. So, and you'll enjoy that match that they put on too.
Yeah, I gotta check it out. All right, so let's get into this last week of wrestling here.
I'll tell you what, man. I'm just gonna say this as a strict housekeeping issue. We almost made it through in an hour.
Yeah, we did good.
We did much better than this, Zach. The last two, we were like close to 2 hours on this.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it to like an hour, hour 15. Last couple weeks have gone a little too long, but this we can get through. So obviously, a lot of crazy things going on with WWE since we were on last Tuesday.
Yes.
We had already talked about the interesting things that led to WWE becoming essential, which was, donating to the state of Florida under the whole Trump thing, Linda, and then also the next day they were essential, and then all of a sudden he decides that they're going back to live programming, which again today came out that there's, possibly someone claiming that they're being forced to work. A lot of talent doesn't want to be working right now.
I say that the live business is in their contract with USA and with Fox.
Yeah.
And while they are allowed to have a certain number of pre-recorded programs, the idea is that they can, if they do too many, that Fox and USA don't have to pay the agreed upon amount. And so I'm sure that puts Vince in a spot where he's like, we have to do this, which is, I mean, so many things that he's done have come back to bite him in the ass. Like hiring all the talent to 4 or 5 year contracts. Well, now you got to buy them out.
Yeah, just so no one else can sign them too.
Yeah. So, honestly, I do think it is one of the most underhanded things that I've ever seen in terms of them using political PAC money in order to make themselves an essential business.
Yeah,
because we all know that Vince is the king of the show must go on. Like, I've kind of had this argument with people off and on over the last 2 years. I'm like, let's not forget, this is the same guy that continued to show after one of his own performers died.
Yeah.
On the show.
Yeah.
Like, nothing. The only thing that would get him to cancel these shows is networks saying, hey, we don't want you running shows right now. And even then, Vince would probably still say, well, pal, we have our own network.
Right. That is the funny thing. It's like, did he learn nothing from their Chris Benoit experience and jumping the gun and not getting facts and details before making decisions? Like, which, whatever. I mean, that's a whole nother mess too, because they claim that they didn't know and that hadn't been reported yet. But I mean, I'm sorry, man. Like, if that family's dead, you want to figure out how they ended up dead and not just do a tribute show right off the bat.
Yeah.
Anyways, which, by the way, the Dark Side of the Ring series has been just wonderful.
Oh God!
I don't know if you guys saw, and this was another one. It came out, Snuka one,
absolutely,
last week, which makes Vince look like he definitely paid the
on
that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that was mind blowing.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
I will say, I know we're going to get into a little bit. I know we're going to get into a little bit other stuff, but I love that show. I think it's a great in-depth documentary. The reenactments always creep me out, though.
Oh yeah.
Like when they're talking about what happened and like to see like their little reenactments they have people do. I'm like, that kind of creeps me out a little.
Yeah, most definitely. No, it was crazy though, because I remember when Snuka was in our town, Mask, and he was at the bar I was working at, and we hung out with him all night. And it now makes sense, some of the stories he was telling us, like, oh, this guy's like batshit crazy, and he killed a woman. Like, that's the other thing too. After I watched that, I was like, man, I drank all night with a murderer.
Cool.
That's cool. Anyways, so they do this. They get all this essential. WWE is going to be essential. You would think that means shows going on. All the wrestlers are going to be working, whatever. Well, then comes last Wednesday. I'm going to go through the list. So, like, just massive names getting cut. So, here we go. Some of these are coaches, performance center coaches, producers, announcers, refs, and actual talent. So, Kendo Cashin, Serena Deeb, Chris Guy, MJ Jenkins, Josiah Williams, Jerry Soto, Deanna Perrazzo, Alexander Jack. Is it, how does he say it? The Jackik? Yeah, I don't know. Andrea Lisnenberger, Rusev, No Way Jose, Zack Ryder, Maria Kanellis, Mike Kanellis, Rowan, Sarah Loga. Side note, there's rumors Sarah Loga might already be coming back.
Yeah.
Mike Chioda, Primo, Epico, Billy Kidman, Pat Buck, Sean Daivari, Scott Armstrong, Sarah Stock, Heath Slater, Kurt Angle, Shane Helms, Dave Finley, Lance Storm, Mike Rotunda, Aiden English, Eric Young, Drake Maverick, Kurt Hawkins, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, EC3, Leo Rush, which, by the way, Chris Guy was also known as Ace Steel. Some people may know him better by that. Also, Cassis. Oh, no. Going back to Chris Hero. He's been like, so that's the list, man. That was
plus hundreds in the corporate office.
Yeah. And I have nothing to back this up on, but I have reason to believe there are more names that are a little bit bigger that have been let go too, but nothing's been said about them yet.
Right.
But to my knowledge, I think there's a few more people that has not been publicly like released, but are no longer with WWE. Man, it was just a crazy list because like you expect these layoffs after Mania. This was a little delayed, but it was just a weird timing because you have all this stuff with them becoming essential, this donation, and then we're gonna make a profit this year. We have $500,000 on reserve in case of anything. Oh, and also 23% of the XFL was actually owned by WWE, which now Vince is getting sued by their CEO. It's just a mess. But it's just weird to see this big a list of names and to see some of the names. So with that being said, like for you guys, what were the like couple names that really were like, wait, what, really?
I'll be honest with you, I was really shocked they got rid of Mike Chioda. I mean, he's been a referee there for frickin' ever, and he does a great job. And I mean so that kind of shocks me. Hey, good to see you, friend. Thanks for tuning in.
King.
That shocks the shit out of me. Fit Finley, Billy Kidman, Shane Helms, those guys shot me. But now the other part of it is that some of these guys are furloughed, meaning that they're just off until they can bring them back. So and we don't know who's furloughed and who isn't. So given that fact, it's like a lot of the names that were on there, I mean, to be honest, I'm surprised that they hadn't done before, because it's like, again, with only the reason of holding them back from somebody else, there's no reason for them to be doing anything if they're not doing anything with them.
Yeah, I was kind of thought too. The Kyoto one, Galzan, some of the other guys didn't really shock me too much. I was too shocked by Ryder getting let go or EC3, just because Ryder's kind of always been there and kind of gotten pushes here and there. I don't know. There's a lot of these guys where I'm like, you would love to see what they can do on the outside because you know what their talent potential is. We know Zack Ryder can get himself over without WWE, and that's what actually probably hurt him in WWE, is being able to get himself over outside of it, because he did the Long Island ISD story and everybody was chanting for him, and WWE didn't like that, so they felt they had to push him, so they did, and they shoved him off to the wayside for the last 10 years. So I did find it interesting. A lot of these guys were very quick at getting their PWT stores up and running basically the next day. I know Ryder already had designs up, and somehow some of the people are already getting some, like, how are y'all getting your t-shirts when PWTs isn't running at full capacity? And yeah, there's something more is going on there behind the scenes, because I was like, some of these guys have had to have these running ideas in their head, like, okay, if I'm ever getting released, this is what I'm gonna do and come up with. Because Ryder, I felt like, had his stuff basically ready to go. It was almost like he's been expecting to get his release. I did get a kick out of Mike Bennett's new shirt that he had on his store that basically says, "I'm non-essential." So I got a kick out of that. And I know him and his wife announced that they're going to start their own podcast now called the Non-Essential Wrestlers Podcast. So I was like, you know what, that's a pretty clever name and something to do during your quarantine time. But so many of these guys that got released, I can't wait to see what they can do on the independents. And I know, I selfishly am hoping, I know I thought somebody I talked to earlier said, I guess Anderson or one of them tweeted about that they're already looking to go back to Japan, but I would love to see those guys go over to AEW with the Revival. We all know the Revival is going to go over there. I mean, you get the Revival plus Gallows and Anderson in AEW. That tag team division over there is the best tag team division in all of wrestling. I mean, it's already going to be when you put the Revival over there and let them be a tag team. I can't wait for that. I won't be shocked if you see at least Zack Ryder make his way over there too, because he's good friends with Cody Rhodes too. So and I don't know if you guys saw the picture that Cassius Ohno posted, where it's basically a shot of his boots in the ring, kind of indicating that he's retiring from his in-ring work.
Yeah, I think he's at a point where he could. I think he's at a point too where if he did retire, give it like 6 months, and once things get back to somewhat normal, he could get brought back on as a coach at the Tournament Center or something. I think he's dating, I think he's with Paul Ellering's daughter, who's still in NXT as far as I know. I don't think she's been cut.
Okay.
Sure. I think she's still there. Anyways, yeah, it was crazy, man. Like, I'm with you guys. Like, Chioda was a surprise. The one for me was Heath Slater. I was really bummed about that one because that guy has been able to, like, just make something out of all the crap he's been given. You see what's happened for Jinder Mahal. You've seen what's happened for Drew McIntyre. That it just, as a fan of Heath Slater, in the back of your mind after Mania this year, you were kind of like, oh man, maybe there's hope for Heath. Maybe Heath will get a run eventually someday. The other two jerks from MB3 did. Maybe he will. He deserves it. And maybe he will.
He got kids.
You're right. He's got kids. What's he going to do? So hopefully he goes. I would like to see him go to AEW. And with the other names you said too, Zach, I see them hopefully maybe going eventually over there. Obviously, nothing's happening right now. But once things can happen, I would like to see that happen. But it was a crazy 2 days of wrestling as far as all these firings and names. And again, I know you said some of them are furloughed. I have a feeling though that none of the talent got furloughed.
Yeah, I would have a tendency to agree. If as you say, and this is not going to be up to WWE or AEW, it's going to be up to the venues and the individual cities as to when they allow actual arena shows again. And as you said, it may be 9 months, a year, maybe even longer before this is allowed. That's a huge revenue stream for both of those companies that's just not going to be there, and it's not going to be possible then to continue to pay the talent. And we talked about it a little bit. It seems like the comparison between how much money they actually save versus how much it isn't much. But you know what? I mean, when you're in kind of panic mode, every little bit counts. Having said that, I still think Vince is probably one of the most greedy human beings that walks the face of this earth. And it doesn't surprise me that he's on the President Trump's recovery team for economics. I know he's joined by John Menard of the Menard's hardware chain, who I can also tell you is a gigantic crook from personal experience. So, I just...
Hashtag super heels.
All I can tell you is I have to take deep breaths and say that this is not going to be just a who's who of corporate crooks.
No, it's ridiculous, and that's a whole nother thing. Getting into that stuff, but
I know, and it's a whole nother thing, and I that's all I'll say about it.
So again, it was a really bad day. A lot of people were, not it was just a lot of names, man. It was a lot of names coming in. Could you imagine being I'm blanking on his name, but the talent agent I can't remember his name, but the guy who had to make all the calls in Texas. Everybody that day being like, hey, because apparently it sounded like they had a big conference call for all the talent. And then at the end was basically like, we'll be reaching out today personally to let you know what instructions we have for you. And then just one by one, the names were coming in. And if you were watching Twitter during those hours, you were just seeing these superstars posting all of a sudden, like, well, that's it. And it was just like, what? Another one? No.
Well, you can refresh their original article, and you keep seeing it through the article. And it was interesting because we were seeing names that got removed to the alumni section that hadn't got announced. I know at one point when it happened that later that night, Mysterio was in the alumni section. And I was like, wait, did he get released too? And nobody announced it yet. Like, there was a couple of names that got thrown over on the alumni section of the website that never got announced. And obviously, Mysterio, now being part of Money in the Bank, obviously didn't get released, but still, it was like, holy crap.
Right. Yeah, it was crazy. And then to cap that whole week off on wrestling, the next day, everybody wakes up to find out that the legendary ring announcer, and if you grew up in the 70s, 80s, even some of the 90s watching wrestling,
even 90s,
this was the guy, and that was Howard Finkel passed away. Just a horrible way to end the horrible 2 days of the wrestling world.
I'll tell you, I remember watching Howard Finkel when he still had a full head of hair. And you can go back, and it started off with a little patch, but he had it in the 70s. He had the big sides, so it was like a little bowl, but it was almost like a Larry from the Three Stooges to a degree. And he was just so good, and they'd have him come on the Tuesday Night Titans every once in a while, and gosh, just what a memorable voice, and such a cornerstone of everything that company did for so long. And I can't remember who the picture. Go ahead.
Oh, I say absolutely. It's like Ace said, it's one of those just awful too. There, if you're a wrestling fan and grew up to, for me, it was been the '90s era. And Howard Finkel, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Howard was actually the very first WWE employee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So to make kind of everything even more tough there, it's like, that's. I know his health hadn't been the greatest, but that still doesn't make it any easier, any better, because he's just such a legendary ring announcer.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, you and I, JR, when we talked about WrestleMania 3 last week, I had mentioned that was the first WrestleMania I have actual memories of watching beginning and as a child live. I vaguely remember WrestleMania 2, but I mean, that's when I started, was around that WrestleMania 3 period, which was 87. Was that what it was?
Yeah, I think so.
So, I mean, that was the heyday of Fink, and I mean, and he was even more a bigger deal then because, we didn't know it at the time, but he was the one that came up with the name WrestleMania. It was him that threw that out to Vince, and now it's this iconic event, and which is an awesome way that, with that story being out, we'll always remember, true fans will always be able to remember at WrestleMania, like, hey, this wouldn't be WrestleMania if it wasn't for Howard Finkel. But I mean, that's a little kid. When my friends would come over and we'd have wrestling matches in the basement, someone would always be Howard Finkel and do the wrestling. And it just stellar. I mean, you think of all-time greatest ring announcers ever, and I'm not just talking wrestling. I mean, you have Bruce Buffer, you have like Gordon Solis, you have and then you have Howard Finkel.
And to be fair, I don't count Bruce Buffer in that, and the reason I don't is because he wasn't a wrestling guy first and foremost. He was a boxing.
Well, I'm just talking about ring announcers.
Oh, okay.
In general, just because I mean, he's iconic for the Let's Get Ready to Rumble. I mean, just those names that when you think of MMA, boxing, or wrestling as a ring announcer who stands out, there's not many.
Yeah.
It's not a thing, like if you go to a normal person on the street and you're like, do you know who Justin Roberts is? They're going to be like, no.
The guy that delivers my milk?
Exactly. Where you go to any people who aren't real big fans and be like, hey, do you know who Bruce Buffer is? So Let's Get Ready to Rumble. Oh, yeah. Hey, do you remember the guy who did the wrestling stuff? Oh, yeah, Hulk Hogan. You do the whoo. Like, it was just one of those names, man. So it was sad. It was sad. It was a sad deal. We talked about it on the last show I did with Wes, and he had some stories to share about it. But yeah, it was just, man, and those pictures, you seen him. I remember I think he was at Hall of Fame last year. on WWE, and they had a shot of him, and it was like, ooh,
He has in a wheelchair, right?
yeah.
I know.
Mhm.
I saw a picture of somebody, and I don't know who it was that was visiting him.
Oh, the Tommy Dreamer one where it says,
Yeah.
yeah.
Please put the TV on channel 8 on Tuesday nights because they can't run the controls and wrestling's on.
Yeah, I guess it was like some form of Alzheimer's. He was like losing his mind.
Yeah.
I guess, so,
Yeah.
again, it's a really sad deal, man. And that's a guy I never got to meet. I always wanted to. I've seen him at places, but I never got the chance to meet him. But yeah, man, it was a really, really, really bad way to end 2 days of wrestling last week. But now we're getting on track. No one else has passed away in the wrestling business. Knock on some wood, because that's rare. And then we're getting ready for Money in the Bank, and Double or Nothing will be happening is the other thing they're talking about now too. Regardless if it's going to be in Vegas and with the crowd, it will be happening on pay-per-view. So,
Well, it'll be.
Well, hey, Georgia is slowly starting to open.
mhm.
Florida, I would not be shocked if AEW starts going back to Jacksonville to run shows.
I'll tell you what.
So
I hope that they do, and I hope nothing happens. But I there's a 2-week lag behind when stuff happens, and it was just announced that there were 7 cases that they felt like were due to the fact that Wisconsin forced people to vote in a primary 2 weeks ago. The state of Minnesota and South Dakota are blowing up at meat packing plants. I know there are a couple in Iowa that are closed as well.
yep, same here.
Because this is more complicated than people think. I just saw another report that said that in testing they did in Los Angeles County, 55% more people have it than they thought initially, just because they're doing the testing. Does that mean everybody's in horrible shape? No, it just means that as a country, we're not doing enough testing. And that testing and or a vaccine that works are what's going to put us back on track to being able to have shows in real venues with real audience again.
Come on, Mayo Clinic, hurry up.
They're working at it. They're working at it, baby.
But yeah, anyways, Zach, man, thanks for coming on with us today.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. It was I haven't done a whole lot of wrestling podcasting since Zach passed away. Did another show before WrestleMania with my friend Josh, and I've been doing a music show with my friend Kevin that we started up just before Zach passed away. There, we've been doing that for a few. Yeah, we both love music. We basically will pick 1 or 2 albums to review. Our last episode, we were lucky enough to have Jeremy Popoff, the guitarist from the band Lit, on our show to talk about their album. That happened to be the album we were talking about this week, and it was funny because I sent out a tweet about it on Twitter, and I saw that he liked it and the band liked it. So I just shot my shot. I'm like, hey, if you're not busy, come on to the show and talk about it with us. And he's like, yeah, sure, hit me up. So we got that set up real quick, and yeah, had a good hour and a half conversation with him about their album, A Place in the Sun, and that was a lot of fun. And yeah, I think that was our 6th episode that we're in, and it's been a lot of fun. With music, there's so much different avenues that you can talk about, as opposed to just wrestling. There's just kind of a small clump of wrestling that you can talk about, and there's so many wrestling podcasts out there now. It's really insane. Like I said, especially when Zach and I started our show in 2010, it was getting explained to people what a podcast was. Everyone's like, well, what's a podcast? And now you can start one on your phone. It's pretty crazy to watch how far podcasting just blown up.
Well, thank you for being with us very, very much. It's very fun to have you on. You're certainly welcome anytime you like. Next week we have an interesting guest. Interesting in the fact that he runs the largest professional wrestling chat and show in Portugal. And so Ace and I have been talking. If we can become huge in Portugal, this could be the start of something big. You know, we could call us the Lisbon. I don't know, something that starts with an L. But he's going to be on with us. Joe is his name, and he goes by the handle Smackdown. and that's what his website is. So if you want to get a little bit of a preview of what he's about, you can check out Smackdown. I looked it up, and he seems legit. So
I just want to be able to have my friends here be like, "Oh, how's your thing with that wrestling show you do with the guy and the mask and stuff?" Be like, "Oh, it's going good." You know, obviously you don't watch it, but huge in Portugal. Huge.
we're gonna kill it. We're gonna kill it so hard.
No, I'm excited. Yeah, he stumbled upon our show, and now he's going to come on as a guest. So that's going to be a lot of fun next week. Yeah, I think I'm going to have probably another show with Briscoe and Big Ace this week.
Nice.
No clue if we'll have any guests on or not, but I'm sure we'll have one. If you haven't checked out our last episode from last week, it's on our YouTube channel, the Briscoe and Big Ace channel. Check it out. It was fun because I think, Mask, you watched some of it because you commented about it, but we kind of went through because it was after all the layoffs and firing, so we kind of went through the list and basically just let Wes talk about each person. Just because he has so many personal, and close ties with half of the people that got fired, it was fun to let him just give his opinions on, some of them I didn't know, some of them are good friends, so
some of them he didn't know.
Yeah, so it was a fun talk. So definitely check that out.
Absolutely, one of the best ones that you guys have done in a while.
Yeah, then the week before we had Just Incredible on, so that's another good one to check out.
Yep, you guys are starting to hit it. Soon you'll be big in Portugal too.
Everybody can just be big in Portugal.
Yeah, Wes. Yeah. Well, once you can say you're big in Portugal, come back and talk to us.
Hell yeah. And the other thing too is, as of right now, it sounds like it's happening. It's all in the air. But of course, Hall of Fame in Waterloo, Iowa, in July. If it happens, I will be there. I'm assuming Zach will be there. Hopefully, Maskey will be there.
Yep, I'll be there. We got all access passes ready to go in our hotel room booked. So hopefully, I'm keeping slim hope that it's going to happen because we need it to happen.
Yeah. So I don't know. And if it doesn't happen, once we can do something, I know hopefully we can figure something out to at least kind of get a bunch of people together and at least honor Zigman's memory. So.
And
absolutely.
And last but not least, folks, if you want to watch me without my mask on, I'm interviewing comics every day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the Goonies Comedy Club Facebook page, or my own Facebook page, which you'll have to track down. But Goonies Comedy Club Facebook page is a good place for that. And I've been having comedians both locally and nationally. And today I had on a fantastic headliner named Michael Thorne. You can go back and watch that too. Great stories from comics.
This is bullshit. You would be killing Cornette right now. You're breaking the business. How dare you do shows during the day without your mask?
Fuck off.
Kayfabe that shit.
This is a freaking very lowly watched podcast. It's like the four. First of all, let's be honest. If anybody gets to the end of this thing, and still it's like, oh, well, I think I'd love to watch. No, because what people do is they watch it for a while and they say, okay, fuck these guys, and then they leave, right? And if there's anybody up, because right now there's 0 people watching, 0, and so they have to. First of all, in order for somebody to see this part of it, not only do they have to come and find it, they have to watch it all the way to the end or zip it to the end, because apparently all the good shit happens at the end. I could say I could give clues to murders right now and nobody would hear them.
No, don't do that. Then that's
when
everybody's.
Hey, Ace, when you repost this,
right.
When you repost this, Ace, you gotta say all the good shit happened.
Right. That'll be the new tagline on the show's Mask. Make sure you watch all the good shit happen. Yeah.
Oh my God. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And if you did watch all the way to the end, we appreciate it very, very much. Next week, 8 o'clock, we'll be here with Joe from Portugal, where we're huge. Bye-bye.